Okay,
I'm going to admit everyone. Okay, you're all set.
I'd like to call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission special meeting for January 27th, 2026 here in Meeting Room A and on the Google Meet. Let's start off the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with roll call. Down on this end.
Danny Price, Commissioner. Eric Frederick, alternate. Sproul Braden, Commissioner.
Online.
Bob Legnard, Commissioner.
Molly.
Jolly Doris, Commissioner.
Cynthia Slater, alternate.
Jeff DeRosa, sitting chair for Mike Kozlowski. Staff, we have tonight online.
Jeremy DeCarly, interim town planner.
Amanda Martinez, recording secretary.
That's all.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll move to our first order of business is a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry, we got a seat.
I got a seat.
Mhm.
Okay, seat two alternates tonight, Eric and Cindy. For Mike, Eric for Mike, Cindy for the
Yep.
vacancy.
Mhm.
We'll start our public hearing with Eppoliti Industrial Realty Inc., 15 Great Pasture Road and 0 Worcester Street. I do have public notice to read first before the applicant speaks. The Bethel Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on January 27th, 2026 in Meeting Room A of the Municipal Center, 1 School Street, Bethel, Connecticut at 7 p.m. to hear the following. Eppoliti Industrial Realty Inc. for the property located at 15 Great Pasture Road, 0 Worcester Street, for 1-story contractor's office with associated parking. The application consists of a site plan and a special permit for excavation and fill of material in excess of 26,000 cubic yards. Property can be found in assessor's record as map 20 block 40 and lot 1. A link to review the materials can be found on the town's website. Public may send comments via regular mail and email to landuse@bethel-ct.gov. Parking for hearing is located to the rear of the building. Mike Kozlowski, Chairman. Okay, do we have someone for the applicant who'd like to start? Take the floor.
Yes, we do. Good evening, Steve Sullivan from Haley Ward Incorporated. I'm a professional engineer registered in the state of Connecticut. So I was going to go through the site development plans and then hand it off to the project's traffic engineer and then the project's architect. And then we can answer or clarify things for the commission. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Is there a way I can share my screen?
You should be able to, the bottom,
Yep.
it looks like computers that share screen.
Yep.
Just so the commission is aware, this is Attorney Josh Pedrero from Cohen and Wolf on behalf of the applicant as well. I can't be there in person. I do have a conflict, but I will be partaking in the beginning of the meeting. But I am handing it over to Steve, so he will lead the presentation. But just for the record, I am present. Thank you.
Okay, has this aerial image popped up on your end?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this is 15 Great Pasture Road and 0 Worcester Street. It's on the west side of Great Pasture Road. And it's between Shelter Rock Lane and the town line between Bethel and Danbury, which is in this location. The Danbury side of the total property is developed. There's an existing building that's used for various tenants. I classified as industrial condominiums. And it's associated parking and loading areas that surround the building. The Bethel side is this wooded area. The Bethel side is obviously vacant and undeveloped. It's about 2.2 acres in the industrial zone. The Danbury side is 11.85 acres. To the far west is Simpog Brook, and then to the east is Great Pasture Road and Worcester Street. There are two existing driveways, two-way driveways that service the site, one north of the building and one south of the building. There is a cell tower area located right in this location, southwest of the building, existing building, and that's going to remain. There is an existing metal steel frame building here that will be demolished as part of the proposal. Going to switch screens here for a second. Okay. Has a colored rendering popped up on your end?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So the proposal, it's obviously the existing large building in the center is to remain. And the applicant owner is proposing 4 industrial buildings, industrial condominium buildings. They will be broken up into 2,000 to 3,000 square foot spaces for various tenants, but 3 of the buildings are located in Danbury. The Danbury side of the new square footage is about 51,000 square feet of space available that would be available. And the Bethel side on the south side of the southeast of the existing building, that one building is 9,750 square feet of space. On the Bethel side, meaning the Bethel side of town line, there are 51 parking spaces. We are also, the southern driveway, the way it intersects with Worcester Street or Great Plain, it's kind of on a skewed angle. So actually the city traffic engineer asked us to realign that driveway so it's perpendicular to the street. And so we'll be doing that as part of this proposal as well. So on the south side, there's basically a small ridge line that we're looking to excavate out material and to create a level pad area for the future buildings. That estimated earth quantity was 26,000 cubic yards. Temporary equipment for processing, crushing, and screening earth materials would be located in Danbury. And that would, this material will be taken off site. It's excess material. So the buildings, so the buildings are shown in a brown color. Paved areas and driveways are in the gray color, and then you have a lighter green, which is lawn, and then everything that's kind of white to the west, that's existing woods, and they'll stay wooded areas. Let's see here. Just going to switch screens again for you. Okay, I switched screens to a grading and drainage plan. Did that change on your end?
Yes.
Okay. So from a drainage perspective, the Bethel side is kind of split. Half of the site drains towards Worcester Street. The other half drains towards the west, towards the wetland area and Simpog Brook. And that's generally the same drainage pattern for the Danbury side. So from a stormwater management perspective, we figured out how much drainage area and runoff is going towards, there's an existing drainage system in Worcester Street. So we figured out what was going there in the pre-development condition, and then we calculated what was going there in the post-development condition. In the post-development condition, the drainage area is being reduced because of the way we graded the site and where we proposed to discharge the roof leaders for some of these buildings in Danbury. So just by reducing the drainage area to Worcester Street, we are reducing the peak flows and attenuating the peak flows to that drainage system. So you may ask, well, what about the drainage areas that were going to that area before? They're being directed to the western area, western side of Danbury, in Danbury, on the western side of the site, into stormwater management systems proposed for that. And they consist of 3 vegetated basins and 1 underground detention gallery system. Okay. I switched to a landscaping plan. Again, on the Bethel side, we have canopy trees proposed for the parking lot islands. And then around the buildings will be lawn area. And then we have a graded slope with the neighbor to the south. And that'll be a no-mow erosion controlled seed mix. Let me just go back to the color. So I switched back to the color area. So this area right here on the south is a graded slope as part of the earth materials we're proposing to remove. The owner or the applicant has a written agreement with the neighbor to the south for this temporary grading on the property. So they have an agreement between each other to allow the applicant to grade on that property. And let's see here. From a phasing perspective, the applicant's looking to do this in 3 phases. First phase would be to build the northeastern building in Danbury and the associated parking and utility infrastructure for that. And simultaneously, they want to remove the earth for the 2 future buildings, and this would also be part of phase 1. So phase 1 is a building in Danbury on the north side, and then the earth material removal on the south side is phase 1. And then phase 2, again, would be another building in Danbury. And phase 3 would be the last 2 buildings, the last one in Danbury and the one proposed for Bethel. So I think I'm at a point where I can hand it off to the traffic engineer to go over his report. And then we can have the architect talk about the proposed building in Bethel. And then we could open up for questions and clarifications.
1 second, I just want to interrupt. Amanda, are you able to put this, what we're looking at on the screen on the TV behind you?
I could try. On my other meetings, I've tried to use this TV and I can never get it to work.
This one.
I can try.
Do you need me to keep my, do you need me to share my screen still, or?
Yeah.
Just don't want to turn
Yeah.
those off.
No. No.
'Cause
I think yes, that would be great, Steve. Thank you.
Actually, before I do that, Thomas, do you need to share exhibits?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think it'll be good.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Thomas. I'm with Kimley Horn. John Canning, the professional engineer who signed off on this report, is unable to be here tonight, so I'm presenting in his place. So like Steve said earlier, we have an existing about, let's just say 74,000 square feet industrial building that's going to stay. And there's that additional 2,500 square foot building that's going to be demolished. In that place, it's proposed to build 4 contractor spaces that total around 59,000 square feet. So we conducted traffic counts along Great Pasture Road at 4 locations: at South Street, at Shelter Rock Lane, and at the 2 site driveways, which you can see on the screen up there. And based on ITE data, our analyses indicate that the project will increase traffic volumes by around 62 vehicles in the busiest hour, which is about an average of 1 vehicle per minute. When we reviewed the future operating conditions, they showed us that the driveways and South Street intersections with Great Pasture Road, those intersections wouldn't be significantly impacted by the project. However, when we looked at Shelter Rock Lane and its approach to Great Pasture Road, we found that it was operating at LOSF without the project, and delays would be increased even if it's just 1 additional vehicle per minute. So the solution that we came up with, and the property owner agrees, is that we could restripe Shelter Rock Lane, that approach to Great Pasture Road to, right now it's just 1 lane. We could restripe it to provide 1 left turn and right turn lane and install always stop control at this intersection. And with this improvement, the average delay on that intersection would be reduced to 25 seconds or less in the busiest hour on all approaches. So that more or less wraps up traffic. I think we can move on to architecture now.
I'm not sure if you want to try, and I'm not sure if it's in the package, whether the architecturals on the screen, unless maybe Steve has those. Steve, you still there?
Yes, I am. Do you want me?
Yeah, you might as well just go into the, can you run the architectural part of the package?
Sure.
You've got them up on the screen as opposed to the board that I have in my hand. Well, Steven's doing that, and then my name is Jeff Moles, Associate Architect. We're going to have a moment tonight on this project. Actually, you can go to the, this particular image is really a street community. The project talking what the building look like, and the owner's vision. These are all designed as kind of micro industrial spaces for the typical, maybe small contractor, somebody who has to keep their supplies and stock in a particular, doesn't want to have a huge space. And so they're kind of designed as small little industrial condominium spaces. All the units within the Bethel versions and the Danbury versions across the line are all set up as plus or minus 20 to 30 feet width and about 60 or 80 feet of depth. So there's enough room to actually put your vehicles inside. And I think one of the typical business model of these units, where I see a visual failure, is when everybody has a small unit in the buildings and the trucks all kind of park outside, the stock is outside. And so I think Mike's idea, excuse me, is to migrate all your equipment, your stock, and if you can't keep the vehicles in there, so it's going to kind of contribute to kind of a nice streetscape, I would say, as an industrial park does. The language of the buildings we're looking at approximately 18 to a little under 20 feet tall, flat roof. The materials are a kind of a cut stone, cut face concrete block with a little bit of texture to it, and it's hard to see in the renderings, but there's also kind of a vertical siding, probably an aluminum or might even be wood siding that's in the vertical orientation. And we actually tried to take great care in kind of creating a nice rhythm for the different buildings. Actually, you can go to the next sheet, Steve, one more.
One more? Sure.
Here we go. Thank you. So you can see kind of how they're articulated. Each unit will have its own little personality, small steel family canopy, a lot of light, some transparency purposes, an entrance door for facilitate if there's any street traffic. But again, typically a large garage door. Each unit will actually have a bathroom, chemical space, and a small mezzanine for other parts, supplies, and a small office for administrative purposes. So I think they're kind of a nice little balance in terms of what the space can look like. And I think Mike, I applaud Mike for kind of letting us take a little bit more aesthetic license in terms of creating a little nicer skin for these buildings that you might typically see as kind of a standard Butler style building without much thought came into it. And again, that particular dynamic is kind of repeated all the way around the site for the different buildings, although there is different size spaces available depending on your need. The Bethel building, as Steve had suggested, is about 9,750 square feet. It has a particular standalone structure. It's broken into 4 particular units right now, in terms of how we're articulating the units. Obviously, we saw the site plan with all the landscaping is provided. I think Mike's done a pretty good job in terms of articulating it, what it could be to what we're proposing. And then it's the same thing. And there's an aerial composite here, obviously, going down over. Thank you, Steve. The aerial composite of the Bethel building with actually some of the trees that Steve and the landscape packages kind of provided, we're trying to emulate through the renderings. This is the existing building, the new building to the north that Mike was talking about phase 1. And again, the phase 2, the excavation was going to happen here for those materials because there's a little bit of a site change in there. That's as a visual reference, that's the area we're discussing. And I'm sure we'll open up to any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we'll hear from the public now. If there's any public comments, you can come up and address yourself. Introduce yourself.
If anyone in the public wishes to speak, please use the raise hand icon on the bottom. No.
Okay. Nobody from the public. Jeremy, did you have anything to add? Any comments before we go to the commissioners?
No, not at this time. I mean, I will note that we have gotten comments back from other departments. The police commission has weighed in. I think DPW has weighed in at this point and various others. SLR got us revised comments today. We sent those over to the project engineer. So I anticipate that they'll address those before your next meeting. That's all I've got.
Okay. We'll go on to the commission. I'll start with online. Bob, anything to say?
No, I'm good.
Cindy?
I'm good for now. I may have questions for the next meeting though.
Okay. Molly, anything?
No questions right now. Thank you.
Ben?
The old building, are you going to do the same kind of treatment as the newer ones? I've been in that building, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, Mike Hawley, the owner of the project. Yeah, I think one of the discussion was how far we go with the new buildings, recognizing that at some point there's going to be some disparity between the existing building and the new buildings. And I think there's an effort. I think it's a little premature, but the idea that at some point this building will kind of come along for the ride in terms of some of the upgrades and some of this.
I realize we have no
I think we
say what goes on in
I
Danbury, but
I think Mike,
Yeah.
Mike's family's owned this property for a long time. I certainly don't want to call it a legacy property, but I think that the idea is that this is a hold for them. The idea is they want to make sure everything's kind of, there's some continuity in terms of the visuals in this property, and that they will get there.
the new ones look good.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's it.
Yeah, I guess no question, just big picture. The idea is to house how many businesses or I mean, it's maybe impossible to say at this point, but
Probably 20. plus or minus, have small businesses. And there's certainly a need, I would suggest, for this particular use. I think he's identified a good demographic. I think it's going to be a successful project.
Stroll, any comments?
Yes. Couple of comments. I commend you. Nice work with limitations that you have. Well done. Certainly does not look like your standard Butler or a pre-engineered building. Well done. Steve, you mentioned excavating. Are you anticipating blasting?
Yes, we do anticipate some blasting on that south side, correct?
Okay. So I would expect that you're gonna go through an existing condition survey and notify the neighbors?
Yep. You'll have to go through the fire marshal's office for all blasting permits and pre-blast surveys, correct?
Okay, so just as long as the surveys are done, that
Yep.
part's okay. Landscaping in front of Great Pasture. It's an aerial view, it's the standard lollipop. What are you actually anticipating planting, and what is going to be the caliper of the plantings, and to create that visual shield?
So there's going to be some existing woods narrow strip between the road and the building proposed at B. Let me just get to. So we have a row of canopy trees here, and let me just zoom in here a second. So those are pin oaks, and the caliper of that are 2.5 to 3 inch caliper. So you're going to have some existing wooded area, a narrow strip that we'll keep, and then just west of that, in between the building and that lawn area, we're adding some more canopy trees.
So 2.5, 3 inch, you're talking about what, 6 foot height?
Yeah, I'd say about 6 foot. Yeah.
Okay, my next question has to do with the traffic, and I apologize because I may not have followed the presentation word for word, because where I got stuck is when it was stated that it would add 52 vehicles per hour, and that would be an average of 1 vehicle per minute. But we all know that come 5 o'clock or 4:30, whatever the quitting time, people aren't going to be waiting in the parking lot, say, okay, I got 2 minutes before my turn to go out. There's going to be a mass rush of everybody trying to get out or come into the site for their jobs at the same time. So I'm looking at the southeast driveway, and I'm wondering about whether that offers an opportunity to increase the width to allow for both left and right hand exits.
That's probably something I need to talk to the traffic. And I'm not sure if the volume warrants a left and a right, but it's something we could talk to the traffic engineer, unless Thomas, the answer to that. But if,
Well, when you come back, you can tell us, but I'm sure we all agree that to say we got 52 vehicles and we're gonna do 1 per minute, that's just a mathematical representation that does not reflect real life.
yeah, and just to clarify, that I think it was it 52, Thomas?
It was 62.
62. That's just during the peak hour. That's not every hour during the day.
That is
No, I
correct.
understand that. That's,
Okay, just want to make
you
sure.
know,
Okay.
starting the workday and ending the workday.
Okay.
So those are my comments and what I look to see back from you next time.
Good comments. Well, thank you. would like to say it was a very nice presentation. I like the renderings. It really helps us visualize what's going on. People in public couldn't see without turning their necks. I don't think I have really anything to comment. You know, pretty much everything was already said. I know that we did get comments from the police commission, public utilities, Bethel Health, and the fire marshal, but we're still waiting for some others. So we'll have to obviously continue the hearing. So I don't know, do I need to make a motion to continue the hearing, or no, we just continue the hearing?
To February.
I just had a quick question.
Yes.
So I did see, I haven't had a chance to look at the SLR comments, but I know they're emailed to me. What other departments are we waiting for still?
Department of Public Works, I believe. We're waiting. Right, Jeremy? Is that what
I think that's right.
So SLR's comments and then DPW comments.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. We'll continue the public hearing to our next meeting, February 10th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Take care.
Okay, next up, we have 67 Greenwood Properties LLC and 69 Greenwood Property LLC, where they're actually on the agenda for two different
Yeah.
applications. One is for a special permit for a reduction in parking, and the other is for a special permit for excavation and fill permit.
Yes, so
We're
here's,
just gonna merge those together so we can talk about everything at once. I do know that different timelines for each of those, but we'll
so this.
we can address everything in one fell swoop.
That has to be read.
This has to be read. Bethel Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on January 27th, 2026 in meeting room A of the Municipal Center, 1 School Street, Bethel, Connecticut at 7 p.m. to hear the following. 67 Greenwood Property LLC and 69 Greenwood Property LLC for property located at 6769 Greenwood Ave. Parking reduction under section 6.2.d.3.d from 41 required spaces to 31 provided spaces by special permit. Property can be found in the assessor's records as map 30 block 41 and lot 12 and map 30 block 41 and lot 13. A link to review the materials can be found on the town's website. The public may send comments via regular mail and email to landuse@bethel-ct.gov. Parking for hearing is located to the rear of the building. Michael Kozlowski, chairman. Okay. With someone, Peter, to speak for the applicant.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Here, I think I can see in the video. Good evening. My name is Peter Olson. I'm an attorney with an office here in Bethel at 275 Greenwood Avenue. My firm name is Land Use and Conservation Counsel. My clients tonight are 67 Greenwood Properties LLC and 69 Greenwood Properties LLC. By a quirk in the deed, both entities own both of the properties at 67 and 69 Greenwood. And they're represented by Principal Tom Tannard, technically principal of another LLC that is the principal member of each of those two, Pujo, but just go with Tom for now. As indicated, there are two applications. Actually, there's three applications before you, two special permits. One was for excavation and fill, and the other is for a parking reduction. This parking reduction came out of some comments we got from staff that maybe we didn't need as many parking spaces as we were showing. So we submitted a separate application just for that special permit and asked that they be combined. I sent out a new notice for the hearing for that special permit. I've only gotten 3 green cards back. I'll submit the rest when I go. So just like to submit those for with a copy of the notice that I sent. So it's been a while since we were here. I think it was in November. There are several new commission members. So I'm sort of split between who heard it the first time and who hasn't heard it at all. So I'm going to try to cover a little bit about what the project is. That's repetitive for those of you who sat there before. But I would ask that any new members that weren't here at the first hearing, go back and watch the video to familiarize yourself with the project before you vote on it, which is legally required that you do so. So in the meantime, since that hearing, We've received some feedback from staff as to the proposal, and we've tried to incorporate that into a new proposal, which Amanda, if you could please bring up on the screen for me, I would greatly appreciate it. So the first comment, or maybe not the first, but one of the principal comments was that maybe we didn't need all the parking that we were proposing. So the original plan was to show 41 parking spaces. This is the number required by the zoning regulations. Even for 1-bedroom units, it's 2.25 spaces per unit. That's 2 per unit plus a quarter space for each unit for visitor parking, 41 spaces. But whatever, can you move down to the next page, please? There we go, good. What our proposal is for 18 1-bedroom units. So there's a total of 18 1-bedroom units here. And so the thought was for 18 units at only 1 bedroom each, we didn't need 41 parking spaces. So that's where this second special permit came from. Let's put that right.
You want to go ahead a couple slides.
No, I want to stay on the slide for a minute.
Okay.
I was just waiting for this to come up. So to backtrack a little bit, the project is with 2 existing homes on 2 existing lots. The one on the right, as you look at the screen, is 67 Greenwood Avenue. That is currently improved with 2 3-bedroom units for a total of 6 bedrooms. All right. And if you were standing on Greenwood Avenue, that would be a little bit up the hill. On the left is 69 Greenwood Avenue. That's closer to the street, a little lower down. It has 4 units in it. There are 3 1-bedroom units and a 2-bedroom unit. So total, we have 11 bedrooms across the 2 structures. The proposal is to knock down the 2 buildings, put up 4 new buildings at this point, and have a total of 18 1-bedroom units. So it'll be an increase in 7 bedrooms total. 6 units to 18 units, but 11 bedrooms to 18 bedrooms. Now can you advance the slide, please, Amanda? Okay, that'll be good. So by going from 41 parking spaces to 31 parking spaces, we were able to significantly reduce the size of the parking lot that we were proposing. And so if you remember last time, the parking lot came in same this way, went to the right, but then turned and had a bit going back to the left, going to the rear property line where you can see the larger building in the back. The original proposal and with that layout had 2 buildings across the street, each with 6 units in it. We'll call those triplexes because they have basically 3 townhomes, 3 units on the first floor and 3 units on the second floor. Another building on the right in the back, on the right side of the property. And then, so that was the 18 units total. And then the parking went to the rear. By reducing the number of parking spaces, we've been able to simplify the parking layout. So it's just a simple, smaller parking lot that you come in, you take a right, and you're in the parking lot. The regulations, your regulations, allow for reductions in the required amount of parking of up to 25%. And there's various reasons you can allow that. Shared parking between commercial and residential uses, we obviously don't have that. But one of them is where the property is within the vicinity of transit facilities. This is in the transit-oriented development district. That's the district we're proceeding under for the density that we're allowing. We're supported by the train station, obviously, that's what the transit-oriented district is, and the bus line, which has a stop just down the street at Bethel Flea Market. Sorry, Carol Lizzie's Market. So transit supports this property and therefore justifies the parking reduction. I kind of stopped submitting applications for parking reductions to you because I got the sense the commission was not enjoying dealing with requests to reduce the amount of parking. But in this particular case, where there's only 18 1-bedroom units, I think it's warranted here. And it does save quite a bit of payment and allows for better site layouts. So as a result of that change, we were able to take the building that was going to be on the right in the back and rotate it 90 degrees away from the property line. And what that has done is allow for that wall to be shorter in height, shorter in length, and further from the property line. So some positive effects came out of that parking. When we get to the plan, I'll show you that this parking layout still allows for access by fire trucks and the garbage truck to turn around, go in, come out, everything works fine. So this was a pretty major change that we arrived at in sort of mid to late December, and our engineers are still working on the plans. I was supposed to have them Friday afternoon, but I did not, and then we got snow yesterday. So that's why our engineers are here tonight, but we expect the plans to be revised in the next day or two. I wanted to come tonight to present these and present some of the architectural changes that we've done to make sure I get the sense from the commission that we're on the right direction, that we're on the right path with these changes, so that when we do submit them, finally, that we're able to close the hearing at the next meeting. Okay, so based on some substantial testimony, a lot of comments from the commission and members of the public at the last hearing, we wanted to look pretty closely at the house at 69 Greenwood Avenue and whether or not there was a chance we could save it. We didn't want to reject out of hand that protection. Amanda, can you advance the slide by 1 or 2, I think? Maybe one more. No, I think you have to go back to, I'm sorry.
I'll go back to.
Yeah, okay, that'll be fine. So the first thing we looked at is whether or not this house could be saved as is. So one of the comments that we got from the commission, from staff, one of the comments we got from staff was that the two buildings we were proposing on Greenwood Avenue were perhaps too massive, and I don't use that in the term huge, massive, but a lot of mass for Greenwood Avenue. And they were 3 townhomes next to each other, so 6 units total. And we made a pretty initial decision that we would back down to have 2 townhomes next to each other, so a total of 4 units along Greenwood Avenue. And so this is what you see on the revised plan here. There's still 2 structures on Greenwood Avenue, each with 4 units in it. So when we did that, I asked the question, well, if the existing house at 69 has 4 units in it, and we're going to propose a new building with 4 units, and why don't we just keep the existing one as is? So that was the first thing we looked at. And the problem with that is, as the engineer pointed out, that the driveway comes down through the middle of the house as is, basically. And you can see it on this plan here. I'm going to move closer so I can point. I know that takes me on camera and nobody on Zoom can see what I'm pointing at, but the outline of the existing house is shown on this plan right here. Driveway comes right through it. So I asked the engineer, why can't we just move the driveway to the left to save that? And the first answer is, well, the driveway would then be essentially all of the land between the property line and the house. It would just be extremely narrow there. Second issue is that in order for all the trucks, including the fire truck, to make the turn into the parking lot, the driveway has to be angled as it comes into Greenwood Avenue, so that you come away from Greenwood, it kind of sweeps to the left, and then you can make the turn to the right. So can you, Amanda, can you go down 2 slides to the turning diagram, please? So this is the turning diagram for the trucks. The only way the fire truck can get in the back is if the driveway is curved the way it is. You can see that as the truck will go up. And so unfortunately, that meant that the driveway is going to go right through the existing house, and we can't keep it in order to have any access to the rear. We looked at whether or not the driveway could go in its existing location between the 2 houses. The 2 problems with that are it's not a great location as is, and so we didn't want to add that traffic to that particular location. And we also can't get the fire trucks turned either way. That we'd have to be able to get them to do both ways there, and they can't do that coming in between the 2 houses. And so unfortunately, that's sort of answer number 1. We can't keep the existing house for that reason. Second, we looked at it as part of doing this. We looked at renovating the existing house. and Maura will have a little bit to talk about later on. The short answer is it can't really be done due to building code issues. And I'll defer to her to explain exactly why, but it still has the same problem of leaving the house alone, which is the driveway is going to go right through. Okay. We also looked at, by the way, knocking down the building and building it again in the same location, looking the same, only modern on the inside. And again, the driveway has to go right through it. Even if we moved it a little bit, we can't move it enough to be able to do that. And again, I'll defer to Maura as to what it is. So the short answer, after a lot of talking, is the building's got to go, and we couldn't find a way to keep it. Our offer still stands. I made it a little flippantly at the last meeting, but I'm still going to present the same offer. If the town or another entity wants a portion of the building, they can come and get it. If they think that that piece in the rear has value as a former schoolhouse, come and get it. It's essentially, at this point, lumber, but I understand the urge to try to preserve it. People are invited to come document the structure. And they're invited, if they would like pieces of it, like the window or the door that are architecturally important, to find a place to preserve and reuse those. We're happy to work on this. Okay, so as I said, we have reduced the massing of the two buildings in the front. They're now duplexes instead of triplexes. Let's use that simple. When I say duplex, I am meaning 4 units. There are some changes to the inside layout of these and how they address the street frontage, which I'll leave tomorrow when we get there. As I said, the smaller parking lot allowed us to shift the building in the rear 90 degrees. That'll still be a triplex and still retain some of those architectural components of the original design. And then we've added another building in back to take the units that came out of the front and put them back. So it's the same building, same number of units, 18 units, same number of bedrooms. As I've noted on the plan you're looking at, the fire truck access works just fine. We're hoping when we submit these, we'll get a comment from the fire marshal that will say it, that they'll agree with that. If you look at back left of the property, next to the dumpster location, you see a shaded area. We've put grass pavers there. So the fire truck will need to use that to back up, but we didn't feel the need to pave that for what will be hopefully a once every few years type of use, hopefully never. But those will be grass pavers and they're there. In the front of the property, we have angled the sidewalk, so the sidewalk continues at its full width across the front about halfway, and then angles a little bit further away to match the what's called side road, or what I've always known it as Prospect Street, but to where the stop sign meets, so the sidewalk will go all the way to the stop sign. Incorporated that plan, and then we've added a stripe on the north side of the side road / Prospect Street. That's a 4-inch stripe, 2 feet from the wall. That will, we hope, give some indication to drivers that there's a possibility pedestrians could be using that area. And the stripe is really the only way to do that. The sidewalks are kind of, there really was no way to fix the sidewalk to the right height there. Let me turn it over to Maura, who's not paying attention at the moment. Give her a second. Maura, can you talk about the architecture, and do you have those that you want me to pass out?
Yes,
Which
thank you,
unfortunately
Peter.
are not going to be available for people on.
Hi, for the record, I'm Maura Newell-Wan with 72 Architects in Danbury. I'm a licensed architect in the state of Connecticut, an approved historic architect with the state of Connecticut, and a building official emeritus for the state of Connecticut. We looked at renovating the existing house, but found it would not be possible to bring the 4 apartments in that building into compliance with current codes. While there are code exceptions for existing buildings, our goal is to provide apartments that meet fire code, accessibility code, energy code, and are free of lead paint and asbestos. Because the house is not listed on the state or national register, we must comply with more strict version of the existing building code. There's no grandfather for life safety requirements. There is a special chapter for registered historic buildings in the existing building code, which we are not able to use at this occasion. The existing home's windows are too small. The roof, wall, and foundation insulation is inadequate. The wall construction allows too much air leakage. The stairs are too steep. Additionally, the doors are too narrow. The structural load-bearing capacity of the floors and roofs are unknown, and bathrooms are too small for required clearances at Type B apartments. Electrical, plumbing, and mechanical systems are a hodgepodge of decades of renovations and modifications. The systems are not in compliance with current standards. The new buildings proposed will be safe for residents, guests, and importantly, safe for first responders. The existing building cannot be modified to be as safe as a new building will be. We also considered rebuilding a new home that would mimic the existing house. However, this approach is not in keeping with the historic practices as defined by the National Trust for Historic Preservation, nor the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties. It's not appropriate to make something that pretends to be old. In 2006, we were the architects for the Philip Johnson's Glass House as it was converted from a private home to a public museum. Modifications that were required for handicap accessibility and fire safety at that campus were not designed to look as though they were from the 50s, 60s, or the 80s. Contemporary modifications should look of their time and allow the historic structures to be set apart and identifiable as older. It's architecturally disrespectful to make fake old buildings. We have modified the building design presented today to reduce the scale of the buildings that face Greenwood Avenue. Rather than 2 buildings of 3 townhomes each, we are proposing 2 buildings with 2 townhouses each. The balance of the apartments will be moved to the rear of the property at the far side of the parking lot. This will be less visible from Greenwood Avenue. Each townhouse, and I'm air quotes townhouse, is 2 apartments. The first floor apartments will enter from the parking lot side of the building. The second floor apartments will enter from the Greenwood Avenue face. This activates the street facade as folks will be coming and going from these doors. It will appear that there are 4 townhomes facing Greenwood Avenue. Each duplex is similar in scale to a single-family home with a footprint of about 1,600 square feet per building. We're imagining these in light colors, white, off-white, light gray, but we haven't gotten to that step yet. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Up on the screen are the revised floor plans for the 2-unit buildings or 4-unit
You're
buildings.
that way.
Yeah. And Maura put together, can I take this? Maura put together a massing diagram showing that. I'm just going to try to get this. Amanda, where should I stand? Where's the camera so the people on Zoom can see what we've submitted?
The left of the strobe.
Oh, wait, no, that's the camera.
This is the
Wait,
camera.
I don't know.
No.
That's
Okay.
First time it's real
Okay, so I'm just trying to show what the feel of these buildings will be. We don't have final review of the revised building from the village architect, Alyssa, but we're expecting to get that at some point before we close this year. Sorry, where did I put that? We submitted today at long last our traffic report. Joe Balskis of VHB, who is our traffic engineer. Joe had done all the traffic work for the Bethel Food Market redevelopment sites, so he's very familiar with the intersection. He checked accident records and he did traffic counts of the actual uses on these properties. And that's all in his report. His conclusion was there would be minimal impact on traffic. Joe will be here at your next meeting if you have any questions to ask him and talk with him about traffic. But essentially, we thought it added 3 cars per peak hour to the intersection, which can be easily absorbed. Okay, so that's all that we have for tonight. As I noted, we want to finalize our plans, so we appreciate some comments from the commission as to whether or not we're headed in a good direction here. We will finalize them, get them in, and hopefully get everything reviewed and back for your February 10th meeting to get things closed. But happy to answer questions and have any discussion.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, open up the floor to anyone. Is anybody here in the room wish to speak? Come on up, sir. Need your name and address.
Name is Patrick Wild. I live at 31 National Road Extension. Since this building proposal for 67 and 69 Green Avenue was first brought before the commission on November 7th, 2025, I have shared 2 PowerPoint presentations regarding the negative ramifications of this proposed building project and its detrimental impact on both the neighborhood and the community. Was everybody able to see those, both of those PowerPoints? Did you receive them?
I recall the one back in
Yeah.
November that we saw. I don't know. I haven't seen the second one.
I forwarded,
Okay, the second
Second
one
one.
reached the commission as
yes,
well.
I will, I'm pretty sure it's it. I will double check.
Just want to make sure that everybody has had a chance to see that. I know that there have been some changes in membership on the commission since the first meeting, so I hope all the new members have had the opportunity to review the 2 presentations and read the concerns they expressed. Now, I am aware that I'm speaking to the Bethel Planning and Zoning Commission and not the Bethel Historic Preservation Commission, which does not exist. However, my concerns go beyond simply trying to save 2 old houses. Approval of this project would represent a radical departure from previous practice. I want to make certain that the commission is alerted to the fact that if the demolition of 67 and 69 Greenwood Avenue is allowed to take place, it will represent the very first time a dwelling house located on the north side of Greenwood Avenue between Chestnut Street and Oxford Street has been demolished since 1843. In that year, the birthplace of P.T. Barnum at 55 Greenwood Avenue was destroyed by fire, and the remains of the original house were taken down and replaced by the house that stands at that location today. Other than that one exception, no house in this area has ever been subject to demolition. You can review the buildings on your own when you get a chance, and you will find that every residence located on the north side of the street between 45 Greenwood Avenue and 75 Greenwood is more than a century and a half old. What makes the possibility of this project's approval doubly disturbing is that the destruction of these time-honored houses is unnecessary. If the 2 existing houses at 67 and 69 Greenwood Avenue are renovated and revitalized, they could continue to serve as apartments for decades to come. Now, I know we heard a lot of fancy excuses this evening as to why that could not take place, but all of those were based on the idea that this project must have 18 units. The planners may have to settle for less. And if one of the 2 existing driveways located between the 2 houses was lengthened and improved, it could provide access to the rear of the 2 properties where the majority of the land exists. A new apartment complex could be built here without requiring the demolition of the 2 houses. And this new building in the rear would not be readily seen from the street, and so would not detract from the older existing homes nearby. A parking area could be created between 67 and 69 Greenwood and in front of the new structure, again, without it being overly obvious. Now, again, based on what we heard tonight, it may require a reduction in the number of units, but there is nothing that says we must approve 18 units. The objection will be raised that such an approach might be costly and therefore prohibitive. I would point out that 2 doors to the west of 69 Greenwood Avenue, you will find several examples of 19th century structures that have been repurposed for modern use as apartment buildings. The building now labeled 75 Greenwood Avenue, which stands at the northwest corner of Chestnut Street and Greenwood Avenue, was once 3 separate buildings. These structures were connected over time, and those Bethelites been here for a while might remember when the bottom floors once served as a liquor store, bars, and restaurants, variously named the Paddock Lounge, Gill's Pub, and Gary's Cafe. For those that don't go back that far, this structure is easily recognizable in that it sits directly on the corner. Its three distinct parts are clad in siding that is light yellow, olive green, and light red. These separate entities were converted into modern and attractive apartments without resorting to demolition. One door beyond this spot, you'll find 20 Chestnut Street, which is at its heart a 19th century commercial building. In 1984, it too was reworked, with the structure being taken down, its post and beam framework, and then being expanded in the rear of the property without demolishing the framework or outline of the original structure. Now, if these old buildings, just 2 and 3 stories away, can be converted into apartments, why can't 67 and 69 Greenwood Avenue also be refitted? The trend today is not to destroy historic structures, but to refurbish, repurpose, and reuse them. This preserves the historic charm that people treasure while still adapting old buildings for modern ways of living. Once unique homes like these are gone, they are gone for good. We will not have a second chance to save them. Some may try to argue that these buildings must be sacrificed to provide for affordable housing. Does anyone honestly think that the new apartments presented in this proposal will be more affordable than the 6 that currently exist on these properties? The cumulative effect of the contemplated building project would be to diminish affordable housing, not increase it. I will not take up any more of the commission's time. I have expressed my fears of losing the 1818 Styles Wakely House, the 1860 Azor Mead House, and the circa 1800 P.T. Barnum Schoolhouse, and have done my best to explain why they should be preserved. I appreciate being allowed to bring my concerns before the commission, and I continue to appeal to the owner of these properties to reconsider and redesign the current proposal. Thank you.
And I did send his presentation December 8th to
Okay,
the commission.
okay. Anyone else here for the public speak? Anyone online? I don't see any hands raised.
If anyone would like to speak, there's a hand icon on the bottom. You can press it. I am not seeing anyone, so I can press it.
Okay, Jeremy, do you have anything to say about this?
No, all I'll say is that as soon as we get the complete set of the updated plans, we'll get those referred out to SLR and the various town departments for comments back to you. I will note, and I think Attorney Olson may have noted this, and I think it's in my staff report, but you will need to close the hearing on this project at your next meeting. There is not enough time to get this out to the second meeting in February. So we'll need to close the hearing next time we meet. And if we're not prepared at that point, then we'll have to talk to the applicant about a withdrawal and a resubmit.
Okay, thank you. Commission members will start online. Bob? Oh, sorry, 1 second, Bob.
Can I offer a rebuttal to comments from the public?
Sure.
Thanks. I do encourage everybody, including new commission members, to review Mr. Wild's presentations because they are, as always, thorough and interesting. And I don't want to imply that I don't care about history in Bethel, because I do. And in fact, I have an antique home in Bethel myself. I'm doing my best to tear it apart and put it back together, but so be it. But here's the reality. Planning and Zoning Commission has no authority to prevent the demolition of a historic building. None, zero. That's it. It's not your job. It is possible that the town could create historic districts have a historic district commission, that would be great. There are huge areas of the town that would probably warrant that. Even were that to be true, you'd still demolish historic buildings, even under those regulations. Obviously, that encourages the preservation of historic buildings and the renovation of them. But the good citizens of Bethel have never seen fit to adopt such a regulation or commission going back many, many years. So the way that I like to handle these things is we do our best to see if we can preserve a historic building. Even though Maura was very critical of the approach that I took at 42 Plumtrees, where we replaced 1700s house with a new house that looks exactly the same, where I kind of like that, and I'm sure that Wild does not like it, and Maura definitely doesn't like it. I think it has the same visual impact to recreate it. So we try to do that. But there are just some examples where the structures cannot be modernized, can't be saved, and they have to go. And in that instance, what we propose is new architecture that evokes the same feeling of downtown Bethel that will hopefully carry forth for the next 150 to 200 years. Maura Wan is our architect. She stated her qualifications when she told you that renovation of the existing building is not possible architecturally. I would also add that renovation of the existing building is not possible without additional development on the property, because there is no financial case to do it. The additional units that are being added allow for the reconstruction of units in the front, but without adding those additional units, there is no magic pile of money to renovate the existing building. The idea of putting the driveway through the middle, we consulted with our engineers about that because that was my first question. That would allow retention of the existing building. The problem is there's no turning radius for fire trucks to get into the parking lot if you go up the middle. The secondary problem is we're adding additional traffic closer to the stop sign on Prospect and Side Road, and that traffic would be behind the hill that is Side Road, so there's no sight line to the left. Existing condition is what it is and has been that way for 150 years. We're going to make it better. Our new driveway will have a full sight line for all traffic coming out of the project. So that's all I wanted to say in response to the comments from members of the public. I'm happy to answer commission questions. Thank you.
Bob, you have the floor. Bob, you have any comments?
You're on mute.
Oh, he's muted. Yep.
I can't.
Bob, you're muted. We couldn't hear anything you said.
No questions right now.
Okay, thank you. Molly?
I just want to thank the public for their comment, and I look forward to seeing the updated materials. Thank you.
Cynthia, anything?
Yeah, what is the date of that video that person sent in, that guy that just spoke?
Patrick Wild,
Yeah,
December 8th.
December 8th. Thank you, just so I can go and watch it. That's it from me.
Okay, thank you. Ken?
I appreciate the revisions. Still unfortunate that got sacrificed properties. I understand the financial issue there. Would like to see the building look a little bit more like the originals. I realize that may not be possible, but I'd still like to at least find you're heading in the right direction. I appreciate that. Is this A3G or is this under TOD?
No, actually, I did want to comment on that. I forgot. This is in the TOD.
Right.
Which has a requirement that we set aside 20% of the units as affordable units.
Okay.
So we have 18 units, and the way that math works is 4 of those units will be deed restricted affordable for people who make 80% of the state median income. So we're not reducing affordability by doing this, we're increasing it.
The other question I had is the building in the left rear looked like the corner of the building was really close to the property line. I was wondering what the setback was there.
The setbacks in the TOD are minimal, might be 2 feet.
Yeah, okay,
But also that property in the rear is not developed at all.
okay. That's it.
Eric. Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on the TOD point. So is there like an architectural review that we go through because it's a TOD project, and is that in the works, or where is that at?
Yeah, so technically it's not because it's a TOD project, it's because it's in the village district, which are more or less overlapping. We submitted our architecture to the village architect, Alyssa Volpati, prior to the first public hearing. That was our triplex plan, three townhomes, 6 units per building. We went through some back and forth before we even submitted on that. Yeah, got a letter that's in the record from her saying, yes, this architecture works. I don't want to call it an approval letter because she's not a commission that approves things, but so yes, we have positive comments from her. Morris said, those are row houses and these new ones are not row houses. They need to do something different. So Maura, what can you just fill us in as to where we stand with Alyssa?
Sure. So our original concept that we presented in the fall was this idea of row houses. And it was well received by Alyssa, but when we switched to doing not 3 together, but 2 together, sort of weird. You don't see 2 row houses. So the language of repeating them up the street didn't make sense to us anymore. And so we switched the architectural language to be, a duplex, but but it wanted to look more like a single family home in a way. Don't want it to look like, ordinary cheap duplexes. We wanted it to look like a nice piece of architecture and more in scale with single family home is our idea, rather than the row house idea.
And Maura, have you sent those plans to Alyssa?
Yes, I sent preliminary plans to Alyssa. She said that she would like to hear your comments before she spends the time to review them and has us do colors and renderings and all that jazz. We just wanted to make sure that we're going in the right direction before we make that time investment on her part. So thanks.
Thank you. Phasing for this work, there are current residents in both 67 and 69, right? And what's
Yes.
the impact on those folks?
Preferably they'll move out before we demolish the structures.
Right.
But that's plan one is
That happens first. The stuff in the back, the site work in the back doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think the issue that we have, one of our plans, I think, shows some temporary work in between the buildings. But the issue is once we start to build that parking lot, the back building in the right has to go. There's really no way to keep everybody there while we build. So maybe partially, but not really.
Okay. I think that's it. I think, like Kenny, I think that the adjustment of the parking lot in the back makes a lot of sense. So appreciate that.
Thanks, sir. Well,
2 questions. Out of curiosity, when you said staff made comments, you don't mean commission members, you mean
consultants.
The town planner and I had a conversation as to things he had heard based on conversations with commission. We have not had direct communication with the commission, which is why we're asking you tonight to say to us, this is good, keep working on it, or no, we like the old plan better, or, you gotta let us know where we stand before we finalize everything. So,
okay.
So that's that, not Amanda, even though Amanda's welcome to give me her comments.
Right, 'cause
The town planner.
we now technically don't really have staff. We only have.
Well, you have an acting town planner, that's Jeremy DeCarlo, who's on the Zoom and can probably tell you more about his actual position, but that's your staff.
Got it.
We've heard of him, but we haven't.
Yeah.
So my last question is, at the last meeting, I raised a concern looking at the location of the dumpster and the fact that, from the refuge carting company's incredibly convenient location, you're up, you're out, loaded over the cab, and back and you're out. But for the people who are gonna live there, it's the most inconvenient location. Take the weather this weekend. They gotta trek across the entire parking lot to get there. And I think we had agreed that you were going to look at that a little bit, and if you could for the next meeting, it's fine. I'm not looking at the
Well, I
answer.
can tell you that we did look at it,
Okay,
but the problem is by reducing the size of the parking lot and shifting the building around, all the options for moving it became untenable. So for example, if we put the dumpster between the two buildings in the rear, we don't have any place to back up the fire truck. That was the impact of making that change to the parking. If we put it on the right side of the parking, it goes right up against the neighbors on Prospect Street. And so that
right,
was,
and
that was,
there's no travel advantage to the occupants.
yeah, it doesn't solve the
tenants.
concern. If we put it in the middle, that would, but it meant we couldn't do the backup. So we decided to leave it right where it is.
Perhaps at the next meeting, you can show me that,
Okay,
because I'm not visualizing it as an architect. That's it.
Okay. So where are you proposing? This is the old plan. Hold on.
Yeah.
I don't have the new plan up, but well, imagine the two houses are here.
Right, and there's a mirror image, if you will, back here, and they,
Right in the middle.
and the answer may be, we looked at it.
we looked at it
we
and
don't.
it can't be done.
I'd like to see what,
Okay,
somebody's gotta have a drawing with a turning radius and whatnot. It is incredibly inconvenient for the tenants.
well,
Because
one thing I will say is by adjusting the building that was far right, rotating at 90 degrees and adding another building in the back, those are now closer to the dumpster. So for three of the buildings, it's better. The one in the front right didn't get any better. It is what it is. Yeah, more.
So I'll just throw into, we do a lot of apartment neighborhood developments, and we find a lot of people just put it in their car and drop it on the way out. And so this is on the way out because this site is so small. It's actually way closer than most apartment dumpsters are on the big site, so.
Okay.
And I think too, it becomes a landlord problem, rentability of the apartments. It's not convenient to the people, they're not gonna rent there. So I think each other look at that, but if it's the only place you can put it, there's nothing we can do about it.
I have a few questions.
Yes.
Peter, you said 4 of the units would be rented as affordable for the 80% median income. Do you know what that number is, monthly number, ballpark? I mean, I'm not going to hold you to it, but is it $1,200 a month or $1,800 a month?
No, so there is an affordability plan in the record that has an exhibit F. It's the last page. If I'm remembering off the top of my head, it's about $1,450
Okay.
for an 80% unit at the state median income, I think is about $1,450
For 1 bedroom.
for one bed.
And then market value for the other 14 units.
Sure.
You don't have to tell me what the market value is. I'm
Well,
just agreeing with it.
the issue right now with the market numbers is HUD just combined a lot of regions into one region. So we used to be the Danbury region, and now we're part of the Southwestern Connecticut region, which, as you can imagine, by including Stamford rents, has made the market rate kind of thrown off. So when you look at the chart that I gave you, you'll see a market rate that may not necessarily be Bethel's market rate. I just wanted to say that. But it is not that much higher than the 80% in state median income. Like,
And those
you're only
four-
$200 or $300 off.
So
paying
those
$400.
4 units count as 4 HUEs for us? Or are they reduced because they're only 80%?
Housing
affordable.
equivalency point, is that what you're
Yes.
using? I think the answer is yes. But there are some weird things with the housing points for non-830G developments. These are not elderly units, so you don't get hit for that. Like that's one thing that you get dinged on, but think that's right. I think they counted.
Okay,
four.
Jeremy, maybe you know, Jeremy, how they get accounted for?
Each of those units would be worth 1 point, but the market rate units are worth nothing.
It's worth nothing. Okay.
Yeah,
Because
market-
it's not considered a set aside development. To be a set aside development, it's got to be 30% at the state median income.
Right, market rates in an 830G
Right,
count a small
Yeah,
amount.
0.25.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I mean, you just kind of explain that, you know, market and the 80 percentile rent aren't very far off. You know, if we could increase 20%, 30%, you know, that could be something definitely
Well-
favorable for the town. That,
So
something
I'd
to think about.
I'd say two things. The regulation does require that we use the state median income, which is about 124,000 right now. Under 830G, you have to use the lower of the state or the local median income. The local median income is 149,000. I'd much rather be using that number, like that's, you know, $25,000 difference in people who qualify. And then, you know, you use that 30% of that, so your rents are much higher. But second is if you increased the affordability requirement from 20% to 30% in the TOD, you remove all incentive anybody has
I wasn't looking to do it
to
for all of
to
TOD.
use- to use the TOD rather than an 830G. Like that's the reason you have it at 20%. Is it's not 10%. 10% being the bare minimum to get you out of using 830G at all. So you're going to get additional units, start building towards your 10%. But as a developer, that's a much better situation than having to do an 830G at 30%. And if you're going to require 30% of state median income, there's no
I'm not
point
gonna
in following the rules.
require anything. I'm putting up an offer there. You know, especially since there's not a huge difference between market and that number. You know, it's something you can put into your pro forma and see if it works. It's certainly be acceptable because I don't know if anybody's really on board with them demolishing existing homes. I understand, you know, bringing them up to code and getting people in them is probably a massive challenge. I've owned historic homes for decades now. So I can see how that can be a challenge. Definitely disappointed that, you know, both structures have to come down. And the architectural for the new version doesn't look, I looked at the 3D renderings, the row houses, I don't see a big difference between them. You put the two doors together and so they took off the whole unit. So, you know, that strip is the gateway to downtown. You know, I drive by it every day. I look at all the houses, you know, they're all separated equally. You know, there's a lot of nice architecture on that street. And to, you know, this one kind of jumps right into the Carluzzi's kind of model. And then there's another historic home right after it. So, you know, it's definitely going to break up having this more modern structure there. So I would like to see something, another alternative architecturally. Yeah, not a requirement, just something that I would like to see. I'm not done yet. The reduction in the parking was our idea to kind of, you know, for you guys to come back with something that is like what you've proposed. With the, you know, we said, hey, if you keep the structures, we'll reduce the parking. Then you can build stuff in the back. I know on South Street, there's a few units where the original historic structure was converted into apartments. I don't know the house number. And then behind it is like I think it's an 8-unit building. It's got a barn style to it. You know, there's a few examples of that in town. That's kind of what I was looking for. Not knowing the condition of the units the buildings we're trying to save. So that might all be for naught. You know, maybe there is a circumstance where the two front are different than the two in the back, where it is more of a barn style or something. Just something to try and better fit the neighborhood. You know, I like the reduced parking, you know, less asphalt. I do think 31 spots are plenty for 18 single. And you do have walkability. Maybe not all the way to the train station, as some would say, but electric scooters and young feet can get you there to the train station. Let's see. I think that might be it. You know, the new plan, I definitely prefer the new plan.
That's important for us.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, you say that your engineer's done the study with the turning radius of the trucks. I have to believe him that, you know, it can't. I am curious to why there's a 24-foot wide driveway. That's a massive driveway. So I assume that's to get the curve of the truck to come in.
Yep.
You know, that's a big wide driveway. So I guess there's no options. You know, in the middle, you look at them coming through the middle of the two buildings. Can't do that either.
No, that was the first question I had for them is what if we, because that, to save the existing building, we had to move the driveway, right? So either to the left, and the answer is we can't do that because we can't get the fire truck in.
Yeah.
Or to the right. And the answer was, well, we can't do that because then we have two directions we have to get the fire truck in, and we can't do either.
Right.
And then they also said, well, now you're adding traffic to a place that has no sight line.
Yeah, that's trouble there. And that prospect should really be one way heading west, you know.
But even with Prospect, you can't see Greenwood Avenue from our driveways
Yeah,
at all. Right?
right.
So if the Prospect isn't the issue, it was Greenwood. But when you move it to the new location, we have good sight lines. So
And
Very
what are you doing
problematic.
with this? What was the sidewalk? I wasn't following you guys on the sidewalk.
So
how's
the sidewalk, we
gonna
originally
be?
hadn't carried it all the way to the stop sign at the bottom of Prospect. And so now we have, and it angles away a little bit. So it goes across Greenwood and then angles, so it's parallel to Prospect, to the stop sign.
So-
Then, maybe I'll reiterate this for the new commission members, but it then goes up a hill. Our property ends about halfway. And for the entire length of our property, there's like a knee-high stone wall
Oh, in front of 67.
in front of 67. And so the options we had were build a sidewalk on Prospect at the bottom of the hill, which would eliminate Prospect as a road. Build a sidewalk at the top of the wall, which we could only do right to the edge of our property line.
Here.
And then there's a whole lot of other property before you can get to Prospect Street. So you need stairs going down. That just made no sense either. So we said, well, we're just gonna do nothing. And we got a comment back from staff that maybe we could put a stripe on Prospect Street to indicate this is an area for people to walk.
Yeah, that's
So
a
that's
good
what-
idea. Because on the other side of the T intersection of Prospect, there is another piece of sidewalk. Right?
Yeah.
It's just that one section. in
I
front
don't
of
know if
s-
there's a sidewalk going down the other side either, but there is on Greenwood.
Okay. Okay. And then landscaping, I don't know. Is there a landscaping?
Yeah, so
plan?
the problem is the engineers have to finalize the site plan for the landscape architect to revise her plan. We submitted a plan in accordance with first set of designs. The next one will be basically the same thing, only adjusting for slightly smaller buildings in the front.
Okay, so maybe even more green since we
Yeah,
got
there's
rid of the
more green
asphalt.
space available and the wall is on the right, is smaller, so there's more.
Maybe even something for the, not necessarily the street, because the street is all housed, but maybe for the people in the back, you know.
There's nobody in the back.
So, the back northeast corner, I think there's some
On
properties over
Prospect,
there.
but it's still quite
Yeah.
a distance to their house, to their houses. on Prospect.
Okay,
So,
All
you mentioned the, change of architecture as you went down Greenwood towards the Carolizzi. I should say the architect for Carolizzi is sitting right here. So,
Only if you like it.
yeah. Let's be careful about criticizing that.
no. I mean, it's a commercial
but,
space. It looks
You know,
gorgeous.
I understand the reluctance to feel like you're approving the demolition of historic buildings. But please rest assured, you're not approving the demolition of historic buildings. It's not your call. I could file an application tomorrow to demolish those buildings, period, just because I feel like it. So it's not the Planning and Zoning Commission's job to save or not save historic buildings. Just, you know, I feel bad about it too, but it is something that has to happen in order to facilitate the development. Okay. Architecture is definitely your job. The new architecture is definitely your job. And so, you know, what I'll say is there, you know, the village architect has to sign off on this. We'll keep working on it. If we're getting somewhere, and we need to keep working on it after your decision, we can do that. This is not that big a deal to modify the architecture to meet different tastes. If we need time, we'll figure that out. So please keep those suggestions coming. Maura will keep working on it, even though she yells at me every time I ask her to change it.
Okay.
Can
She
you
seems
have,
nice.
Alyssa, take a look at the buildings on the corner that Pat was talking about with the color
Valley
changes
Lounge?
between them, yeah. And take a look at those and see if any of that can come into play here.
Yeah, I mean, they were basically re-sided.
The color changes I'm talking about.
That's all it was re-siding with color change. I don't know
Yeah.
what they did inside.
No, I was just talking.
It smelled a lot like cat pee the last time I was in there, so.
Better than when it was Dare's Cafe.
Used to sit on the school bus at that stop sign and look in the open door in the middle of the afternoon at this point.
Let's have her take it.
Yeah, so, the only other thing is I know, one commission member asked me to see, Pat's presentation, which I did encourage, but I think she referred to him as that guy. But let's be clear that Pat Wild is a Betheltown historian, and should, you know, his opinion should be given a lot of validity, so.
Yes.
He's not that guy in the corner.
Yes, Mara.
I guess I wanted to ask more to talk about the changes from the row houses to the duplex specific.
Oh,
changes.
okay, sure. But I also just wanted to beg for feedback because we did design those buildings. Alyssa wrote the nicest letter I think she's ever written and I've ever gotten from any peer review architect in my life. And then it went in the garbage. So I desperately want each of you to, and all of you, to tell me what you want these houses to look like so that I can be going in the right direction.
Okay.
So that's what I'm eagerly looking for.
Yes, I mean, we'll drive around town. And give me an address or something that looks, I know I have a vision. I definitely have a vision in my head, so.
More colonial, is that your thoughts kind of?
No, actually, probably more Victorian.
Victorian?
Yeah, that's what, you know, the rest of the, isn't the rest of the street have a lot
It's a
more,
hodgepodge.
it does have a lot.
It's a
It does
hodgepodge.
have colonial, Italian. So.
Is there a world where you all talk about this together so that I get, instead of 6 different?
No, we're not
feedbacks?
allowed to, actually.
Now, like now?
Right
Oh,
now.
now.
It's like, otherwise it's like 6 different things, which I can't possibly.
Well, but,
do.
you know, in small groups.
Change between
On a
them.
work session.
I'm okay with Victorian.
I do like that maybe different style for the ones in the back, you know, where they look like, you know, a barn and of some sort or something, like, you know. Instead of them all kind of cut from the same cloth.
Just
Okay.
So you're not changing shape, just the external.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you all know the Thomas Seeley House on the corner of Chestnut and Main? It's a brown house that's dated like 1775 or something.
Oh, right. When you come up Main, right at the stop sign across.
Yes, right by that church. Why can't they look like that?
Because that one was built 300 years ago.
I know, but you can mimic something to look like that.
That's a Quaker style.
That house is beautiful. That's my suggestion.
Okay. Okay, we're continuing the public hearing to the next meeting. Correct?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you very much.
okay. What's the next meeting, Amanda?
February.
February 10th. 15th to February 10th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we did that already. Oh, we have some, our business meeting right now. So did everybody get a chance to review the minutes from the January 13th meeting? Yes,
Sure.
any revisions to the meetings, minutes?
Motion to accept.
Motion seconded by
Second.
Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Invoices, we have none to review. Work session, next on the,
I just put it there, but there's
we don't
nothing.
have, no, we didn't move anything into the work
Yeah.
session, so we
Yeah.
will, there's nothing to discuss. So now we have, new business. Text amendment. This is 16 Stony Hill Road. There's two items to discuss. Text
Well, there's
amendment,
they're two separate applications.
the two separate applications.
Yes.
Okay.
Why don't we do B first and?
I'd rather us do A. No, I'd rather us do A first.
Okay.
Yeah, A is just an accept and schedule a hearing, essentially. That's all we need. It's a text amendment, so it is required to go to a public hearing.
Oh, okay. So we're just bringing this up to open up to a public hearing scheduled for
Correct,
another.
Correct. And the applicant is here as well.
Okay.
Yes, my name is Charles Lichtenauer. I'm an attorney with Chip and Zuko Iverson out of Danbury. I have with me Jessica Maynard, and Dr. Jim McNamara of Bethel Vet. We're here to see the application get accepted. There are some related site plan applications, and there will be a future special exception application should the text amendment go through. But the two applications before you, there's one 16 Stony Hill, the other we should be treating as a text amendment.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need a public hearing for the text amendment?
Yes.
Okay. So we're just going to accept the application and schedule a public hearing.
Correct.
For the record, this is my first time as chair, so.
You're
Doing great.
You're doing great.
Great, Jeff.
All right, I'm no Mike has last name. Okay, so we could just schedule that for our next,
Jeremy, what day?
oh no, Jeremy, you did say there was a conflict or something. correct?
Yeah, I'm recommending that we schedule it for the hearing or the meeting on March 10th. This is a text amendment that affects a zone that is within 500 feet of the municipal boundary, which means we need to do a referral to Westcog at least 35 days before the hearing opens, and also to Danbury and Newtown. And so 35 days does not quite get us to your second meeting in February, so hence the first meeting in March.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion to do that?
Yes.
I make a motion to open the hearing on March 10th, 2026 for PCZ 26-01 text amendment, section 4.3 Z10.
And,
Second.
and I'm going to add to that, Mr. Chairman, it's also section 6.11, which didn't make it on the agenda, but I do think it's important we'll make sure it's part of the legal notice.
Okay,
Thank you, Jeremy.
thank you, Jeremy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Abstained? Motion
You're
passes.
abstaining?
No. He was guiding me.
Oh, sorry. So wait, what?
Okay, next then, 7B for new business. Planning zoning 26-02 Bennett Sullivan Associates site plan at 16 Stony Hill Road. That is not a public hearing?
No.
Okay, but we're gonna hear from the applicant. No public comment.
No, no public comment.
Okay. Okay, floor is yours.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Can't talk. It's,
Not you.
No. It's.
oh,
Doesn't
Go ahead, Jeremy. Go
doesn't
ahead,
the
Jeremy.
applicant have to present?
I just have a couple of words, if the commission is interested in hearing them.
But we're not at the public input.
Yeah,
No, it's not. No.
I'm the applicant, Nathan Bennett, representing Bennett Sullivan Associates in Southbury.
Oh, okay.
thank you, Nate.
Because
Yes,
it's two
Nate.
separate applications.
Okay. Okay, yes, Nate, please.
okay.
enlighten us.
We are here tonight representing the owner of 16 Stony Hill Road. I appreciate your time this evening, and in an effort to respect your time, I'll attempt to be brief. We are proposing an interior renovation to an industrial building located within the RT6 zone, located right in between Route 6 and 84. We are proposing to divide the space into multiple, potentially 6 commercial spaces. Our goal is to create a location that can be seen as a service center that creates benefit to the community. We dedicate a large square footage in the center of the space for circulation that connects each side of the building. This circulation, as well as other planning, allows us to create comfortable spaces that all have 2 means of egress and access to natural light, as well as private or common toilet rooms. Our goal is to keep the renovation work to the interior, but We will be creating tenant signage on the exterior above the entrances as the need arises. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, and I do, sorry.
Jeff, where is this? 16.
It says it's between Route 6 and 84. I don't know. Here we go.
Right next to Stony Hill Diner.
Oh, okay.
Which side?
To the
I'm
left.
looking at it.
Oh, sorry, looking at the diner is to the right of it.
To the right.
Is it the old is it the old New Vance building?
It was Blackstone Industries,
Blackstone
the
Industries.
white one,
More down by the diner.
Gotcha.
next to the Econo Lodge.
Yeah, the new vents that you're referring to is at the intersection. This is not the one immediately next to that, but the one after that. On the same side of the road.
Building says.
So 1 story. Appears to be cinder block, can't tell.
There's 2 stories. There's a smaller story in the back.
The big story, yeah.
I mean, this is all interior renovations, right?
It is all interior work. Essentially what you're being asked to do is convert this from a sort of an industrial use over to a mixed commercial use. I think there's also there's a planned dance studio as part of this application in one of the tenant spaces. I believe it's up to 6 tenant spaces. And what we'll need to do is, as those spaces begin to get leased out, we'll do a review of each one individually. At some point, we'll have to deal with parking, I suspect. But at this time, based on the proposed uses right now today, there's more than enough parking. But we'll review each use that comes in. Some of them will need to come to the commission. Others might be administratively approvable. It really depends on what we see for tenants going forward. But there's no exterior work at this time. It's all interior, as you mentioned, Jeff.
Okay. I see this color coded plan here with the tenant spaces. There's the
Yep.
dance. Yeah. Okay. And exactly, Jeremy, what is it that you need us to act on?
So it's a site plan application because it's a change of use. And so we would be, the applicant is looking for you to approve the change of use from industrial over to this mixed commercial.
This doesn't, what, we don't need a public hearing for this, huh?
Correct. You do not need a public hearing.
Okay. All right.
As we get those spaces filled up, if one of them is a special permit use, it'll come back to you. There was discussion at one point about a veterinary office going in there. That would require a special permit, so that will come back to you.
And that our change would just be for this property. It wouldn't affect any of the neighbors or anything.
This site plan?
Yes.
Correct. Just this property. Yep.
Okay. All right. Any commission members have any questions?
No.
Anything?
And here's Paul.
Is it your intent to have a branch vet office there?
It's it's an urgent care. That's the concept, not a regular vet, but an urgent care vet.
So I can make a point of clarification for the commission if you'd
Could you
allow.
make a point of clarification for the commission?
Absolutely. So the applicant Bethel Vet came in a while ago with a special permit application for a emergency or urgent care vet clinic, a boarding facility, and a doggy daycare facility. Upon making the application, the applicant learned that 2 of those uses were actually prohibited in the zone because they weren't a listed special permit use or site plan application use. So what we had to do is withdraw that application and come back to you with a text change application that we will then follow with a special exception application. But we're not going to throw bad money after good, as it were, and make both applications at the same time. We're going to walk you through the text change application, and then we're going to walk you through the special exception application.
Okay.
What I think is important for the commission to kind of keep in mind, and I know that they're both related to 16 Stony Hill, but try to separate the text amendment from the application that you're on right now, which is a site plan approval just to change the use of the building from a generic industrial use to a mixed commercial use. They are two separate applications. The text amendment requires a public hearing. We're going to deal with that in a month and a half. The application in front of you right now, which is item 7B on the agenda, so it's PZC 2602, is just a site plan related to the use of the building, not related to the vet clinic, because that's a special permit you're going to deal with later. This is just separating it into commercial space.
This opens the door for them to come with the next phase.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then that phase would come before us, and we would
Yeah.
have a decision to make that. But my concern is that the boarding of pets and the dogs. So if we say yes tonight, are we saying yes that they can have the
No,
boarding of the
you are
dogs?
not.
and
No,
animals?
the boarding is what's related to the text amendment. So that's where you need to try to draw that line, on paper in front of you. That has to go through the text amendment. If you say yes tonight to the site plan, all you're doing is allowing the building to be sort of reconstructed on the inside into those various spaces. And then as each individual space begins to get filled, we'll do another review for each individual space. We'll look at parking calculations and we'll look at the use. Some of those things will only require a zoning permit. Some things might require a site plan from you, and some might require an additional special permit. But tonight it is just about going from industrial to commercial.
And the public has input in the future scenarios?
Yep. The text amendment requires a public hearing, so public input there. Veterinary clinic requires a public hearing because it's a special permit. Dog daycare type uses, if that text amendment goes through, that would require a public hearing. So yes.
Okay.
So do you need a vote from us?
If you are ready to approve this, then yes. If you have questions about the site plan, then you can continue it to your next meeting. That's really up to the commission.
Do you want to see what Bob or Molly or?
I'm sorry, yeah. Commission members online, do you have anything to add, Bob,
Okay.
Molly,
No questions, thanks.
Cynthia?
No questions.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the site plan before us
Second.
to change the building use from industrial to commercial.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Motion passes.
All right. See you guys on the 10th. Go.
We'll see you on March 10th.
Commission. Thank you. Mr.
Thank
Commissioner.
you, commissioners. Have a good night.
Okay, next on the agenda is public input. Anybody online from the public wish to speak?
I see a hand raised.
BJ,
BJ Livery.
you're muted, BJ. You have the floor. BJ, you're muted. We can't hear you if you're speaking.
I cannot unmute. I cannot.
Oh,
there.
there you go.
Here we are, sorry.
Hi,
Now I
BJ.
can hear you.
I know you haven't done the report from the town planner, sort of. But in your planner's report, it says that you're going to be looking at things between now and July 1st to accommodate the new regulations from the state. So I have a question. What is one of the things that you're going to be looking at for parking minimums? Legislation allows for the creation of a conservation and traffic mitigation zone. What exactly is a traffic mitigation zone? And my comment is also, when you're doing this work, are you also going to be looking in general at the TOD and your POCD? In your POCD, it says that you're working towards requiring 50% of universal design in the affordable units that are coming before you. and you're going to promote energy efficiency and new housing. In your TOD, you had that big meeting, a couple, in the fall or summer. And there were a whole bunch of, suggestions that people had, comments that people made. And one of the things, Attorney Olson actually was the one who said that you should try reapplying to the state for the railroad crossings. And, you should, I would request, or I would suggest that you also look at ways to come up with creative ideas for traffic mitigation, because you're doing the building, but you've got to put some controls on the traffic, and there are a lot of creative things that you could look at for that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy, I'm sure maybe you'll address some of those in your planner's report.
Yep.
But I don't see anybody else from public input, so we can jump right to the planner's report. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Sure. So I'll start with Public Act 25-1. That was what the comment or the question that you just got was related to. I, along with a lot of other planning staff from across the state and some commission members, attended a large discussion on Thursday of last week regarding this bill. It's a big bill. It covers a lot of items. There are a couple of different timelines set up in it. And so I think it's important for us to not get too bogged down and overwhelmed with everything that's in the bill. We'll just focus on the things right now that we kind of need to focus on. There are two primary components that we need to deal with before July 1st. The bill includes a provision that states that we cannot deny, and I think that's important the way it's worded, we cannot deny an application for not meeting the parking requirements for residential developments of less than 16 units. So essentially, we can't have a minimum parking standard for a residential development of under 16 units. The reason why I think it's important that says you can't deny it is if you don't change your regulations, we're not forced to go in and rewrite our regulations related to that. But just know that if somebody comes in and doesn't meet those regulations, we have to approve it. There's plenty of other reasons that might come up, but we can't deny it because it doesn't meet the minimum parking threshold. So that's number one. And then the second thing is allowing residential conversions as a summary review, and I put that in air quotes, in your commercial zones. A summary review essentially is a site plan, although you're able to factor in health and safety considerations, which gives it a little bit of a feel like a special permit, but it really needs to follow the site plan review track. I know I'm saying a lot of things. We need to kind of probably have a special meeting on this, and I think Mike had brought up the idea of maybe just having a special meeting dedicated to some of the stuff that's in 8002. So those are the two primary components. Now, with regard to parking, the bill does allow the town to create these they're called conservation and traffic mitigation zones. And what those are is a zone that you can set aside and actually continue to require parking minimums. You can have two of these zones, and they can each encompass no more than 4% of the total land area of the town. Now, they can be connected to each other. They can be contiguous. So for you, I know there's been a lot of concern about parking in your TOD. And so maybe we look at the TOD as a conservation and traffic mitigation zone, establish that zone so that you can continue to regulate parking in that area. Maybe the Route 6 zone is another area that we kind of take a look at that. I think we need to get into it, have a bigger conversation. My firm, Tyche, we're working to schedule a focused workshop. It would be online, but for all of our client towns, we're looking to hire probably one of the big guns in land use law in the state and bring them in and have a dedicated hour or two session with all of our commissions. So as we get that scheduled, I'll let you all know, but I think that the idea there is so that we can come away from that with some really targeted, specific advice from some of the better attorneys in the state that understand this stuff. In the meantime, I think maybe it makes sense to get a special meeting on the books, and we don't have to come up with that date now. I'll work with Amanda and Mike and Jeff, and we'll kind of, reach out to all of you and figure out when you're all available. Maybe we can just have an hour-long session dedicated to this legislation.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay. Any questions on the stuff that I just spewed at you with regard to that?
But just real quick, that the 16 units, the parking restriction, and we can reserve 2 spaces. So that means we can't reserve like something in Chimney Heights. Somebody could build 16 units, 15 units and say, well, we don't need parking. It seems really weird.
Right. And so, I don't think the intention is to allow developers to just put in no parking. I think the reality is, most developers recognize that housing developments need parking. And if you don't provide parking for your tenants, you're not going to get any tenants, because where are they going to park? You can still enforce on-street parking laws, right? So if you have narrow streets that don't allow on-street parking, you can still enforce that. That doesn't get covered by this bill. That's not under zoning. I think the reality is you're going to end up with parking. It's just, I think there has been, or at least the feeling is that there's been a propensity for towns to have minimum parking standards, which are excessive. And so you end up with, large amounts of blacktop where maybe it's not necessary. And so this is kind of a step back and saying, let the developers figure out how much parking they actually need. Like I said, there are areas that we can designate as these mitigation zones, and we can set up that standard. Now, for units or for developments over 16, you also still can regulate that. There's a little bit of a hole in the legislation. If somebody comes in with a project that is 16 units, we don't exactly know what to do with that, because the legislation says under and over. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't say 16 and over. There's a little bit of a hole. So the legislature knows that they need to fix that. There's a few other tweaks in the bill that they're aware of that need to be addressed that I think they'll take care of in the spring. But so I think we can set up a special meeting so we can dive into just this thing.
Great. Okay.
And then the only other part of my report is related to the 830G moratorium application that we've been working on. I don't really have a new update. Nothing has changed in the last 2 weeks since your last meeting. Sproul had asked for the Excel file and took it and cleaned it up and made it pretty. I don't know if that went out to everybody yet or not, but I will make sure that it does. It's a little bit easier to read. He highlighted some sections and has it doing some bold text and things like that, just so it's a little bit easier to read. So thank you, Sproul.
He gave us a printed copy right here. So, we're still very short on our certified points.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, and I don't know if this is the time or a little bit later in the meeting.
Well, we're going to the next portion in the meeting anyways. So we'll go to commission comment. Jeremy, you're done with your planners report?
Yep, I'm good for now. Thank you.
We'll go to commission comments, and Sproul, you can start.
Thanks. So, for the commission members that are present, they got a copy of it printed out. But what's critical here are 2 items. If you look on the bottom right-hand corner, we have for 2024, we have received certificates for 6 properties out of 16. And for 2025, we have received 1 out of 16. And below that, you can see it's highlighted. It also gives you the number of points that we're getting. And we're about a little bit over a third of the points that we need for 2024. And we're at about 4% of what we need for 2025. So there are two, let me come back to this a little bit later. One of my questions has to do with the Lexington Meadows at 1013 Lexington Boulevard, which has a potential number of, rounded up, of 55 points, 1/3 of the total points that we need to achieve a moratorium listed in that one line item. But in terms of letters, we have not applicable. Jeremy, what can you help me, guide me here? Because I look at it and I see that as that one line item alone would make a huge difference in our effort across the board.
Yeah, and I have no doubt that we'll get those certifications. Those two projects, Lexington Meadows and Worcester Woods, those are owned developments. They are not leased. And so those are overseen by the town's administrator, the town's affordable housing administrator. And so we're not looking for the individual homeowners. Mark Nolan is the administrator for the town, and he actually has to review each and every sale that goes on in those two developments. And so the reason I have the NA, the not applicable in the letters, is that I'm not sending Mark a letter. He's not going to be getting a notice of violation from me. We're working with him and we will get those certifications. I have no doubt. I just don't have a timeline as to when yet. We're in contact with him and he's working on it. So I have no question that we will get both Lexington Meadows and Worcester Woods.
All right. So then let me move on to the other ones, the rented units.
Yeah. John?
That's right.
Sorry.
So let me go to the other categories, which are the rented units set aside and the rented units not set aside. And what's involved in sending a letter? Because we have sent the first letter. We've gotten some certificates back, as I mentioned at the beginning in the summary, but we haven't sent the second letter, with one exception, and we don't have a response from that. So what's involved in this letter? Is it now a matter of taking the first letter, changing the date and saying this is your second notice or your second request? What are the mechanics that we're dealing to overcome to get these letters out? Because these letters went out 2 months ago.
Yep, they did. And you can see in my notes there that for the most part, with the exception of the one where the second letter went out on the 9th of January, I've spoken to everybody else the beginning of this month. So, the second letter is sort of a notice of violation. But when somebody reaches out to me and says, I'm working on it, whatever the case may be, and I've had individual conversations with these folks, I give them a little bit of leeway. They're working on it.
Right.
They have tenants that they need to gather a ton of information from. And listen, I'm not sympathetic. Don't take what I'm saying as sympathy, because it is their responsibility as landlords of these 830G projects to collect that information on an annual basis, certify that their tenants meet the requirements within the legislation and within their affordability plan. I don't know, and I'm not going to say it hasn't been happening. I don't know that that's been happening on a consistent basis. What I can say is we have not been getting the certification letters on a consistent basis. So it's a little bit of a process getting all of these landowners into the habit of doing this. That said, we are coming up on the end of the month. And if you read all of their affordability plans, their letters are their certifications are supposed to be into us by the end of January. They've all been made aware of that. And for the ones that don't have the 2025 certificates back to us, well, actually, for all of them, they will all be getting a letter at the beginning of February saying, this is a notice of violation, and giving them a timeline to get the certifications into us. Because at this point, we should have gotten the 2024s at the beginning of 2025. They obviously had an 11-month grace period while we were kind of figuring out where we were. But there's really sort of no excuse for the current certificates.
Jeremy, what happens if you finally contact these people and find out they themselves, the landlords, are in violation by not collecting the reduced rent?
It's a zoning violation. That's all we have to hold them accountable.
And
Can we make it public?
Yeah, it's all public record, right? It's all public record. So sure.
So what I'm saying is the landlord's in violation. Then we can't count that as a unit toward the moratorium?
We can count the units that comply.
I think that's Bob's point, the ones that don't comply.
Right.
The ones that
Yeah,
don't
they
comply.
they don't comply. They don't comply.
So listen, part of the reason.
Landlord's putting us in a position of not complying, because we can't punish him.
Right. So and I think we've had this conversation in the past. Maybe we haven't, but the town is working on an ordinance update to allow us to issue fines for zoning violations. You don't.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some consequence.
Yeah, well, that's just it. That would be the consequences. It would be $100 day fine per day that the violation exists. So for each unit that doesn't comply, we could fine them $100 per day.
Right.
But we don't have that. We don't have that ordinance right now. So right now, all I can do is issue letters and hound them. That's about all I've got.
I mean, that's my concern with the people that are dragging their feet about reporting, is they have, all they have to report is they've violated the regulation.
I share your concern, Bob. I do.
Okay.
So Jeremy, I guess what I'm trying to get to here is if we need temporary administrative help, I'm volunteering to redraft the letters, get them printed out, get them signed, get them into the post office, certified mail, whatever we need to get that administrative effort pushed forward so that we can get to, we sent the second letter.
Well, I don't.
That you would need to go. You would need to go help the landlords do their job. It's not an us problem.
No. Well, there's two us problems. There's one is the ordinance to inflict penalties, which is with the Board of Selectmen.
Correct.
So that's an us problem, and that really needs to be. I know, Dan's not here, and there's a lot of it's got a lot of balls in the air, but this. We've been hearing about the ordinance for months and months and months. Like, that's got to get on the front burner, because we can't sink our teeth into anything if we tell people you're going to get a fourth letter.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's the bullet in the gun that we need.
Right. So really, our only action is to tell Dan how important this is. He knows how important it is, but he really when? I need a date.
Is there a process for us to bring that to the Board of Selectmen at their next meeting, or is there a time? And that's my, naivete here, but what would be the best process to do that?
Well, I
Other than
think
continuing to
there's
tell them about it?
there's two ways to go about that. I mean, you could attend as individuals and members of the commission and speak during the public comments, or the commission can draft a letter and send it to the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, I think we should do that. I think we should draft a letter
Make
from
a
the
motion that
commission.
We draft a letter on behalf of the Planning and Zoning Commission
To the Board of Selectmen.
to encourage them to expedite the issuance of that regulation.
I second that motion.
And one of my suggestions would be a rent rebate back to the tenant when these landlords have been overcharging them based on what the liability is to that piece of property.
You want to vote on that motion?
Yeah, can we vote on the motion
Letter.
for draft and letter that's provided? I seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Okay.
None.
So
Motion
Jeremy,
passes.
my confusion still remains. The value of the second and the third letter is moot. Right? At this point, we could send 17 letters and they would all end up in the round file.
Well, you have to send how many before you can issue, if we had a penalty? You have to send all three before we can do the penalty, correct?
Yeah, it depends on how the ordinance is crafted, but typically,
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
typically do sort of a friendly letter, a notice of violation, and then a cease and desist, and then the fines start after that. That's the typical process. So yes. But you're right. I mean, right now, and that's the trouble with zoning enforcement in general, is if you don't have the ordinance that allows you to issue fines, it's kind of like, here's the violation. Now, I mean, we have the attorney involved, and we can go that path if we needed to. We can go the legal route, but I mean, then you're going in front of a judge and that takes forever and a day. So, if we need to go that path, we'll go that path. I'm hopeful that it will not get to that point. I've spoken to all of these landowners. They understand the situation. I'm told they're working on it. I have to take them at their word. And we'll just keep pressing.
Okay, Jeremy, for the letter, can you write up a draft for us?
Yeah. Yep, I can do that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
So what I'll do is I'll plan to draft it and I'll get it in front of you for your next meeting and have you approve it. And then Mike, as the chairman, would probably be the signatory on it.
Okay, and then
I was
Go ahead, Eric.
going to say one thing, that the folks who are not complying, right, who are not getting back to us. I mean, is there any leverage that we have in terms of, if in this interim, they bring another project before
No.
us?
I already asked that.
You did?
Yeah.
There's nothing you did.
Nope.
Yeah.
I don't have applications for that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I thought the same.
Good question.
Yeah.
Yep.
Back to the top of Lexington Meadows and Worcester Woods with Mark as the town administrator. I need to hear an update from him on where he is on. You said he has to review each and every 54 sales. Is he 53 of them in, or is he one in?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even that. It's each time that a project or a house gets, or I don't know, I think those are condos, but each time a condo gets sold, he does the review of that transaction to make sure that the buyer meets the requirements. So, like I said, I think he's got all those certifications. We've been talking with him. I know Melanie's been working with him, so I'll try to get you an update on that.
Yeah.
There's a paper trail for that.
Yeah, there's a paper trail for that.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to see some progress on that from week to week. So I don't know who Mark is. I don't know how busy he is or what he does, but should be one of his number one priorities.
Who does he report to?
Yeah, who does Mark report to?
Well, Mark is an independent broker, so the town works with him on kind of a contract basis. He's not a town employee.
It was either,
Contract.
at the time, it was either hire him or you had to turn this whole thing over to a law firm
Right.
where they would back check all this stuff for you. And that was proven to be more costly than hiring this guy to do it on a case by case basis.
Yep.
Who holds his contract?
I'll be honest with you, Sproul. I don't know exactly what the engagement is between Mark and the town, and I think Melanie's been working on that with Dan to kind of codify and clarify that relationship. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, if we could just get a report back from Mark, and then we'll.
Mark Nolan built the condos that are behind the liquor store on PC Farm Square, the Phineas Park. And that's how he got his foot in the door here. And then I think part of this is he became helpful with a lot of the housing authority stuff.
Yeah.
And then they picked him to do this, to follow up on this, affordable housing. Never knew it was become the gorilla that it's become.
Okay. Yeah, Jeremy, if it's too much for him, then we should look into a different option.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that Melanie's been, kind of working to sort out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to know. I mean, he's, just be honest with us. If it's too much, we'll have to go a different route. Okay. Well, that was a bit productive. So that was good. Other commission comments? Anyone, Bob? Any other commission comments?
Oh, I'm good.
Molly?
Nothing for me. Thank you. Very productive.
Cynthia? No, thumbs up. Guys?
No. I just don't want us to lose sight of that parking and mobility study. I feel like there was some stuff there that we just talked about, and I think folks liked, and we thought, hey, how do we make the town more accessible and walkable? And we just haven't talked about it. And I just want us to not forget about it.
Are you suggesting that we reopen the TOD conversations too? Because I thought those two were tied together.
I don't think they were.
Okay. All right.
I could be wrong about that, but I felt like we got the report on that parking and mobility study that existed independent of the TMP conversation.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I believe it was separate.
Yeah.
It was.
okay. I'm mistaken. Still, you already went.
All right, yeah, I'm done.
I have no comments.
You can all,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, nice job tonight, Jeff. I thought you did an excellent job
Yeah, good job.
working it.